The Flex4RES project analyzes flexible Nordic and Baltic energy systems. This video presents results for the Baltics. Let's first have a brief overview of the scenarios applied in this study. Business as usual lets the energy system progress according to the Nordic Energy Technology Perspectives Carbon Neutral scenario and NSOE's 10-year network development plan. Connect allows for additional expansion of transmission in addition to the 10-year network development plan, and policy eliminates regulatory barriers in form of volumetric taxes and tariffs on electricity, exchanging them with capacity-based ones. This is intended to enable more flexible use of electricity. And finally, Combi combines the policy and connect scenarios. Looking at the key findings for the Baltics, the additional investment in transmission allowed in the connect scenario results in an early increase in wind capacity, reaching almost a doubling in 2050. This leads to the Baltics going from net importers to net exporters. Changing the current regulation towards capacity-based grid tariffs and taxation, power-to-heat-based heat generation displaces much of the biomass use. All scenarios show an increase in the share of renewables-based electricity supply and an increase in power-to-heat generation. And now let's have a look at the results for the Baltics in more detail. We start out in the electricity sector. Introducing increased transmission capacity leads to a doubling of wind capacity, as mentioned earlier. The optimal is combining increased transmission capacity with regulatory changes. This leads to the largest deployment of wind and solar capacity. Solar PV is also deployed extensively in all scenarios, assuming that distribution grids have the capacity. Fossil fuel-based capacity will be mostly phased out in all scenarios, partly displaced by biomass-based CHP. Despite the large PV capacity, low capacity factors means relatively less generation compared to wind. Increased transmission and the subsequent large wind capacity is reflected in the electricity production, where generation is also roughly doubled. And now let's look at the heating sector. Installed capacity of biomass boilers is unaffected by the taxes and tariffs and is generally significant, mostly for peak load use. One major impact is from increased transmission in the 2040s, where this increases the CHP capacity. Power to heat varies quite little among the scenarios and has a limited share of the overall capacity. Finally, a look at the fuel use in heat generation shows that power to heat, despite its relatively low capacity, is a significant contributor, gradually displacing biomass use across all scenarios. And fossil gas is phased out of the district heating across all scenarios towards 2050. You can find similar videos with country profiles and recommendations the same place you found this one. For even more details, have a look at flex4res.org.